Okay, welcome everyone to our council meeting of September 27th. And thanks for joining us this evening. I'll officially call the meeting to order. And the first item on our agenda, of course, is to adopt the agenda. Excuse me. So I have a recommendation here that the agenda for the September 27th, 2021 regular meeting of council be accepted and passed. Did I get a mover and a second to that? Moved by Steve, seconded by Sherry. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. On to disclosure of pecuniary interest. I have none to declare in anything on tonight's agenda. Councillor Burke?
No.
Councillor Yake?
No.
Councillor Hearn?
No.
And Councillor McCabe?
None.
Okay, thank you. Next item up is our county council update. And after the summer break from regular council activities, I don't have a lot to report, but I just thought I'd bring you up to date a little bit with some of the county roads construction projects around the township, and just so I'll start off with County Road 109. So there was some bridge projects. There was one near Harrison, one near Concession 11, and then one over at Side Road 15. All three of those projects are now completed. If you were driving that road at all, you will have been held up at one time or another at those locations, but everything's back to normal now and looks good. Also would want to talk about Wellington Road 109 between Tiviotdale and Arthur. They recently did a treatment called microsurfacing, which is it's a new treatment to me anyways. The idea being that by doing this treatment relatively early in the life of the pavement, it'll actually extend the life of the pavement. So it closes up some of the cracks and creates a nice smooth surface to help facilitate drainage. So you may have noticed that it almost looks like new asphalt, but it's actually this microsurfacing treatment, which through the county's asset management plan was one of the treatments they're talking about doing on various county roads to, again, try to extend the life of the pavement. I also wanted to just bring you up to date on some things from the Roads Master Action Plan that pertains to county roads here in the Wellington North area. So County Road 6 in Mount Forest was looked at from a speed corridor, in that there was quite a number of resident complaints in that corridor. And there's some recommendations that are coming out of that to maybe you modify some speed limits, but there will have to be some more study done before that. But it's one of those that's slated for some further review around some of the speed limits, particularly on the east end towards the south gate. You come into as you're coming into Mount Forest from the east, it comes down to a 50 type speed relatively quickly, even though it seems like you're still out in the country. So there may be some modifications to step the speed down as opposed to dropping right from an 80 right to a 50. So again, there'll be some further study on that, so stay tuned. And one of the other items that was come out of the roads master plan relates to County Road 109 and County Road 16. So if you're familiar with that intersection, there's kind of odd geometry to that intersection. And it's one of the ones that is kind of down the road will be slated for some sort of improvement, likely some sort of realignment of that intersection to help improve the geometry of it. No date set on that, but it's one of the ones that there is some recommendations to change that intersection to improve the safety there as well. And just the only other item I really wanted to highlight was around the EA. So on County Road 109, the 404 bridges east of Arthur. The recommended solution for that through that EA process is to replace those bridges. But that process still has to completely finish that EA process. And then some work will begin on how to manage traffic. I know that the EA did anticipate replacing those bridges, but keeping one lane of traffic open because the number of viable detour routes there is very limited. So as it goes forward, we'll get more information on that, but that's the recommendation at this point, and we'll see how that unfolds. I think that's the extent of the ones I have for updates for today. I'll be happy to take any questions, and I see Steve's already got his hand up here.
Yeah, and thanks, Mayor Lennox, and through you, of course. Remind me about the public's ability to weigh in on County Road 109 with all the 4 bridges that are slated to be replaced or have I guess upgraded or whatever. When can I know that the public has been able to have input, but just for a matter of public, I guess, importance, when can we do it again?
So I believe the public needs to go to county council for acceptance of the recommendation.
Okay.
And then as it proceeds from there, when we get into, once it's budgeted, these are budgeted for and planned for, then there will be some opportunity for public input around traffic management. I think traffic management is one of the issues that is of greatest public concern. And like I mentioned, the EA at this point does contemplate keeping one lane of traffic open at all times on those bridges while they're being reconstructed. So that when we get to that stage, there will be some more public, at least awareness being created around what's happening around those bridges. But in terms
thanks, Andy, and hope the county listens.
So in terms of formal engagement, I don't think there is anything further at this point, but as we get closer, there will be further knowledge being shared.
Great, thanks, Andy.
Dan?
And just in regards to the treatment that they put on 109, I drive that a fair bit and it looks good. Is it, what kind of cost is involved in that? Is it something that the municipality would look at, or is it cost prohibitive just for the, I guess, for the length of road that they did? I guess it's just, is it expensive, and is it something that we would ever look at?
So this is the first year the county has done this treatment. So I would say in terms of knowledge about the process and how long this treatment will extend the life, there's a bit of unknown still attached to that. It's not cheap, but if you can extend the life of a pavement for a few years, that adds up to a lot of dollars too. So you've probably seen other treatments where they go around and do crack sealing and those types of things. This is just another option for treating these roads. And one of the things that's come out of this is, if you want these treatments to work, you got to do it before you think the pavement really needs attention.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Because if you wait too long, then these various treatments really don't do the job. Because once the pavement becomes uneven and the drainage isn't, water's pooling on the pavement and those types of things, it starts to deteriorate much more quickly.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how it handles the amount of traffic that's on 109. I mean, there certainly is a lot of traffic there, so it'll be interesting to see how it handles and how it stands up. And you never know; it might be something that the municipality might be interested in years down the road. Yep,
for sure. And I would also mention, and it's not part of the county master plan. The province over the summer did a consultation as well in the Greater Golden Horseshoe transportation network. And if you look at the maps, if you happen to look at the maps in that consultation, 109 plays very prominently as a freight transportation route, which we already see today. There's lots of truck traffic on that road.
Sure.
But the the provincial plan is for that to continue to be a high volume truck traffic road for what it is.
Very good. All right, thank you.
Steve, did I see your hand up again?
Yeah, and through you, Mayor Lennox, I was going to say, Dan, are you thinking of maybe this could be an option for our own roads? And then as a second question, I did see that 109 is something that the province is looking at, and I find it interesting that they downloaded it to the county, but that's something I'll have to take up with Minister Mulroney at some point.
Well, I'm not sure whether that consultation that the province put up over the summer is still posted or not, but I would, if you're interested, to take a look at it, because I found it really interesting in that, for instance, 109 features prominently in the transportation, particularly for goods, but Highway 89 from east of Mount Forest does not. So Highway 89 west of Mount Forest, and even County Road 2 up through Drew is on their list, but Highway 89 east of Mount Forest is not. So it really drives home the point to me that Highway 6 is really considered a very important road to the province. And we all know how important it is to our communities. So we need to make sure we front and center with the province around maintaining Highway 6 and making sure it's compatible with our residents' needs as well.
Just,
Go ahead, Steve.
sorry, Andy, or sorry, Mayor. And Dan, just to get back to you, are you thinking of this process, perhaps something that we could do on our municipal roads? Is that what you were kind of getting at?
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking. You know, we certainly have a number of roads that are high traffic roads that maybe it could be tried on.
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
I think we always need to be looking at ways of extending the life of paved roads. We know how they deteriorate with the type of traffic that they get, the amount of traffic they get, and the weather conditions. So, if it was viable, it would be interesting to see how it would work on a municipal road.
Yeah, and really, in answer to that question too, I don't know what are the criteria that makes a road viable for this treatment. I mean, this, at least to me, is a brand new treatment that I don't know a lot of the technical details around, but I think it's something we certainly need to keep our eyes on, because again, if we can, as we've talked, if we can extend the life of our pavements cost effectively, we probably should be doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is some of what's come out of the asset management process at the county is around, if you look at the cost of maintaining that pavement across the county, it's an astronomical number. And if we can extend the life of it, it helps make that astronomical number a little more manageable.
It's always going to cost money, but if we can, like Dan said, and you said, Andy, extend the life of our pavement and go from there, that's worth looking into.
Yeah. Any other questions, comments? Okay. Thank you. Well, we have a presentation this evening. Have you got Emma and or Debbie, or both? Karen?
Yes, I'm just going to move Emma in. Okay. Emma, you're in as a panelist. You just need to put your camera on. Where'd you go? There you go. Hi.
Yeah.
Hi guys, how are you?
Good, and yourself?
Emma.
I'm good, thank you.
So, Welcome, Emma. I know we had a chance to chat briefly on Friday at the volunteer appreciation lunch, and I congratulated you then. This is our opportunity to congratulate you again on your being named Arthur Fall Fair Ambassador, and thank you for your role in this coming year as being an ambassador, not only for the Fall Fair, but for our communities as well. So I think council shares with me the, our congratulations and all the best wishes as you embark on this journey, which I'm sure will be full of excitement for you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. I'm really looking forward to this year and representing the community. And the certificate that you guys have awarded me with is beautiful. And thank you so much.
Okay.
Just
Thank you. Any members of council have anything they'd like to add?
Through you, Mayor, I was very happy to see Emma at Metz at the Pumpkin Fest,
Yeah.
and it was great to see her and Deb there, and we got some good pictures. I should probably share those pictures with you, Karen, and just congratulations to you again, and Emma. And you're following in your sister's footsteps, and
Yeah.
and congratulations. And it was great to see you on Saturday.
Yeah, it was great. It's been a great start so far, and meeting some of you at the lunch on Friday as well. I'm really looking forward to it. And also Deb was hoping to be here tonight, but she was unable to due to some technical issues at home. But she says hi and wishes that she could be here tonight too.
Yeah, it's strange times. Normally I would present you a certificate and congratulate you at the same time, but we've had to break that up in a couple of different occasions. So thanks for being patient with us.
Oh no, thank you.
Anybody else have anything they'd like to add? Okay, great. Thanks a lot, Emma, and all the best for the coming year. I'm sure we'll cross paths again.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you guys so much.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye. Okay. Next up, I have adoption of the minutes of the council and public meeting. So I have a recommendation here that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held September 13th, 2021 be adopted as circulated. Could I get a mover and a seconder for that? Moved by Steve, seconded by Sherry. Any questions or comments on those? Okay, all those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. I don't think we have any business arising from previous meetings, so already we're right into items for consideration. So you could highlight those things that you'd like to pull out for further discussion. Lisa, go ahead.
Yeah, I thought I would jump in before Councillor McKay. 1E.
Okay, that's the cultural roundtable.
Yeah. 2A, of course. Okay. 4B.
Okay, that's the budget schedule.
4C.
The COVID-19 recovery funds.
5B.
And 5B, this is the generator for the Mount Forest Sports Complex. Okay. Anybody have any others? Sherry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to add 3A.
3A, that's the RED grant application.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Any others? Anyone would like? Steve, go ahead.
I was just going to say 1D, and then I will submit my time on the floor to Lisa for 1D.
1B, the Arthur Chamber of Commerce.
No, the Arthur BMX Skate Park Advisory Committee.
1D is in David. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, D.
Yeah, I heard B. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Okay. Last call. Any others? Anyone would like to conclude? Okay, we'll dispense with all the others then. We have a recommendation here that all items listed under items for consideration on the September 27th, 2021 council agenda, with the exception of those items identified for separate discussion, be approved, and the recommendations therein be adopted. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Moved by Lisa, seconded by Dan. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So we'll go back to 1D, the Arthur BMX Skateboard Park Ad Hoc Advisory Committee. So we have a recommendation here that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive the minutes of the Arthur BMX Skateboard Park Ad Hoc Advisory Committee meeting held on August 24th, 2021. Could I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Steve, seconded by Lisa. Open the floor for discussion on that one.
I'll just go quick. Like I said, I'll pass the floor over to Lisa. We had a quick meeting today at noon, and it's great news, more great news actually about the BMX park that Lisa has to tell us. So I will relinquish the floor to you, Lisa.
Wow, well, thanks for the introduction, Councillor McCabe. I was going to discuss it during my council update, but that's okay. It doesn't necessarily apply to these minutes. It results from the skateboard park meeting that we had last week. We had a delegation, mostly from the Baker kids in Arthur, who we know have been raising money for the skateboard park. They were very articulate. They had a lot to say, and I learned an awful lot of terms. And I know Mike did too, and so did Matt, about skate parks. And we took a lot of notes. It became very apparent to me after that that Jack Baker seemed to be the one that was doing the most speaking. He was very articulate. He's very well spoken, and in the spirit of having a skateboard park that Brent Barnes would be proud of, and one that the youth would be happy to use. I did ask, we had a quick meeting today to appoint Jack as a youth member to our committee. So that will come forward to you at REC and back to council, so that hopefully he can be on there by our October 19th meeting, so that he can vote and have a say and provide some input into the design on this park.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Steve?
I just think it's great that people are willing to join, and we have Jack's input and his opinions and his ideas in on it. Alan, Wayne, and Glenn are fantastic, but it's always nice to have that little bit of youth, perhaps, ideas in on the BMX park as well.
Well, they're going to use it. I will hurt myself in the skate park.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, good to have the user input. And so can somebody just refresh for me? I mean, I know that the completion date is, really looking forward to having that ready for next summer. Can somebody just go through kind of the timeline? I mean, we've got to get on with design, and then we have to figure out how we're going to purchase it, whether it's an RFP or what that looks like, and then how that's going to shake up, because I mean, time seems to fly by these days. Matt, could you handle that?
Matt or Lisa, I would suggest.
Yeah, I can give it a try, Mayor Lennox.
Okay.
The intent is to have a scope of work prepared for later in October to go through the ad hoc committee and rec committee in early November, and then ultimately, I guess it would go through the minutes, or the minutes of rec committee would go through council and be in a position to publish an RFP later in November, early December, to close in early February and get someone on board for a spring start. So the drop drop dead date as it relates to construction is July 1st of 2022 is what the aim is.
Okay. Go ahead, Lisa.
Yes, that was the reason, because we have such an aggressive schedule, that was the reason that, you know, after the meeting and I took a step back, I decided that it would be good to bring it to the committee that we appoint Jack. It had to be done now or he wouldn't have a say at our October 19th meeting. And we did have discussions about, you know, we went over the scope and everything of the project at the last meeting. Of course, those minutes will come forward probably to our next council meeting, I would imagine, or the one after. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, no, I just was, you know, thinking time's flying by, and you know, when we get down to I maybe don't have the right terms, but the design elements, you know, and involving the users like that, I think it's great to make sure that we have time to make sure we have the right elements included in the scope. So, okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor? That's carried, thank you. Move on to 1E now, the Wellington North Cultural Roundtable, September 17th. And we have a recommendation here that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive the minutes of the Wellington North Cultural Roundtable meeting held on September 17th, 2021. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that? Moved by Sherry, seconded by Dan. Okay, we'll open the floor for discussion on that one. Lisa, go ahead.
Yeah, I asked it to be pulled just to discuss, and it is in the minutes, that we do have a draft copy in front of the Cultural Roundtable of the Municipal Cultural Plan update. And it's very, very interesting. Nice report here from MDB Insight. We do have a couple more days. The Cultural Roundtable is to provide input back to Dale, and then we're going to discuss it again at our next meeting, with it hopefully coming back to council soon. So I just wanted to give you an update on where that's sitting.
Okay, thanks, Lisa. Anyone else have any questions or comments? I have to admit that when I was reading the report, I thought the report was kind of a teaser for what's coming out in the update. So I guess I have some curiosity as to, is there any surprises in there, or unexpected outcomes? Or is it steady as she goes, so to speak?
I think that there were things in there that I didn't expect. We'll see what the Cultural Roundtable comes back with. They may see things a little differently than I do, but yeah, there were some things in here that I didn't think of.
Yeah, I know that the last time when we first did the cultural plan, I know one of the things that jumped out prominently was something that I thought was a big issue too, was the culture of volunteerism in our community, and I think that's still a huge issue. And I know that our volunteer appreciation lunch, several comments about how people appreciated it, and really that volunteerism, I think, continues to be the heart and soul of our community, despite the challenges of the last 18 months or so. And I hope that continues to feature prominently in our cultural plans for the future. Lisa?
Here's an interesting statistic that just jumps out at me that Councillor McKay might be interested in, that 59% of respondents would like to see more wine or beer festivals here in Wellington North.
Well, of course, that does interest me. And the nice thing is there's a lot of local wineries and breweries that I think, although like, of course, Silver Fox being in Arthur, I think we can get some other people interested in the next volunteer lunch, perhaps.
Thanks, Steve. Any other questions or comments? Okay, I'll call the motion then. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We'll move on to 2A. This is the planning report in regards to the interim control bylaw. So we have a recommendation here that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive the planning report prepared by Curtis Marshall, Manager of Development and Planning, dated September 22nd, 2021, regarding the interim control bylaw regarding cannabis. And further, that the mayor and clerk be authorized to execute bylaw number 92-21, being an interim control bylaw to prohibit the use of land, buildings, and structures for cannabis production related uses. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Moved by Steve, seconded by Dan, and we'll open the floor for discussion. Questions, comments? Steve?
So will this hope, through you, Mayor, will this kind of, I guess, prevent what just went on from ever happening again? And I don't know if that's a fair question. I don't know who can answer that.
So, not sure who wants to tackle that question, but I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to, Steve. I mean, in that we had an application and we didn't feel that we really had the tools to deal with the appropriate application. I think that's the purpose of this, is to try to get ahead of the changing landscape of cannabis
Yeah.
production.
And
there
sorry,
were
Andy,
there were some.
I just don't want what happened earlier on Wells Street to happen again on this one, I guess is that tied in or at all, or maybe I'm out of line thinking that?
Well, I think we were hoping to acquire the tools to be better prepared for an application like that, is what I would say. And is Curtis, or do you want to tackle this one, Mike?
And sorry, so that kind of goes back to like what I was just saying is, can we avoid what happened in the past, and will this kind of set us up to mitigate that happening in the future? I suppose maybe that's for you, Curtis, or Mayor. I'm not sure.
Through Mayor Lennox, I can take a crack at Councilor McCabe's question. So the idea of the study will be to look at sort of best practices in other municipalities. We'll also be looking at the federal regulations and what the requirements are for the various types of applications. So that's for medical and for commercial production. And the interim control bylaw would basically put a pause on any new uses from establishing for a year to allow us to conduct that study. We'd be reporting back to council. We'd be having a public meeting as part of that as well. And ultimately, I think the goal of the study would be to come up with some recommendations for council to consider. So these may be zoning changes, requirements for complete applications, to I guess better prepare the township if there is a request for a cannabis related use, that we have a process a clear process to deal with the application. Now, saying that, it doesn't stop, in terms of an illegal use on a property that we can have the best plan in place, but the situations, could exist still even when we complete this process.
Okay. Thanks, Curtis. Did that answer your question, Steve?
Well, and through you, Mayor Lennox, if I can add one more question. Curtis, you had mentioned, excuse me, medical and commercial, and the one in Arthur was personal. So where does that fall in?
Yeah, through the mayor. So they're essentially under the Cannabis Act, two main types of licenses. So that's commercial medical production and then commercial recreational production. But there's also personal medical licenses, and a lot of them are grandfathered in, where folks have a prescription to grow their own cannabis as a medicine. And these fall under a different process. They don't follow all the same requirements, as I understand, as a commercial production facility would. Now, the federal government does have some rules for these uses, and this is one of the things we'll be looking at through the study, what tools we have to regulate those uses as a land use in the municipality.
Steve, follow up?
Yeah, thank you for a follow-up. So what just went on on Wells Street from personal to what we now know, the county had to come in, the OPP were involved. I guess, will our policy help prevent that happening again? I'm just to kind of be clear, so we don't have to go through this stuff again.
So I think, Steve, I mean, there's two different things that we're talking about here, and I just want to be clear about what it is you're asking. I mean, there was an application that came before council that we deferred because we didn't feel we had enough information.
Mm-hmm.
And in the interim period, some illegal activity that was occurred in that site, and all the best policies and procedures in the world that we have won't stop
Granted.
illegal. I mean, we hope that we don't encourage it in any way. We want to discourage it as much as possible, but it isn't going to stop it. I think the policy we're looking at going forward here is, if there is a legitimate production request, if I can put it that way, how do we deal with it? How do we make sure it's far enough away from residences to manage odor? If it's not regulated under the Health Canada regulations, how do we regulate it? Who's going to pick up those costs? Those are the types of things that we didn't have information on when the application came before us. Those are the types of things that we need to get best practices from across the province to be able to be better prepared for the future. The whole purpose of this is to put a pause on so that we can get that information, the best information available, to try to make sure that if the next application comes forward, we're ready for it. We know how to answer the questions that are likely going to come up.
That's all I want. And thank you, Curtis and Mayor Lennox. Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Sherry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I just have a couple questions. So will this study look at it as through planning, whether it should be in more of an industrial park area, or should it be in an urban setting? And my other comment would be, if this study is prepared before the year is up, will we get a look at that information? I just don't want this to be prolonged. Like, it says a year, but we could come back and we could extend it for a year. So I just like to keep the ball rolling on this.
Okay. Curtis, go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Lennox, Councillor Burke. So yes, I expect we'll be looking at, starting off looking at other municipalities and how they have considered cannabis production uses and where they've suggested they should be located. So that'll be one thing we'll be looking at, as in terms of, are they industrial use, is an agricultural use. So that'll be certainly something we'll be looking at. In terms of your second question, in terms of timing, our next steps would be we're working on a background report. We'll be looking at the legislation and the best practices, and can summarize those for council. And I anticipate that would be the next step, and we would be back with that information report for you to and then we'd be building on that, following that to have come up with some draft recommendations, a public meeting, and final recommendations for council to consider.
Okay, thank you, Curtis.
Okay, other questions or comments? Lisa, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, could there be, and I'm supportive of this, I'm supportive of figuring things out, but could there be, and I don't imagine there could be because this is an interim control bylaw, but could there be negative consequences from a legal standpoint? Say if someone has been planning something and now they can't do it, is that possible?
Do you think you can handle that one?
I would just generally, just a comment, we would generally talk about any potential litigation in closed session. So I don't know if Curtis wants to answer it generally. I'm just putting it out there.
Thanks, Karen, for the reminder. Yeah, so we better keep it in pretty general terms. You have any
Right.
comments at this point, Curtis, that you would? I mean, I think the whole purpose of us doing this, passing this bylaw, is to prevent the potential for appeals. Like if we had an application and we just sat on it, the applicant could then appeal for us not making a decision. By doing this, it kind of heads that off and says, okay, everything's on pause for a year. You want to submit your application, we're not going to deal with it until the year is up. Is that correct?
That's
Curtis?
good. I'm good with that.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Lennox. Yeah, it is a tool that is available to municipalities in the Planning Act and is used periodically throughout the province for these type of situations. And I did see maybe Mike had his hand up if he had more.
Okay, he's not showing up on my screen, so okay, Mike, sorry about that.
Oh, that's great that I'm not on your screen, Mayor Lennox. That's perfect for me. No, I just, yeah, Curtis handled the question. The whole idea of the interim control bylaw was really pushed to get, because we did not want to end up in situations where we had a bunch of applications where we didn't have the appropriate policies, procedures in place to address the applications. Councillor Burke's question about, where's the appropriate spot for these, if there is an appropriate spot, these are all things that we need to address. And when I say we, I see the 5 members of council. The zoning bylaw is council's bylaw. Do we need to license these commercial activities through a business licensing process? Again, that would be a council bylaw. So we're trying to gather all the information to ensure that if we get applications, we have the appropriate process in place. But we can't do that without some time, and we don't want to be dealing with applications. So this is the avenue to stop the applications, saying, no, we pass an interim control bylaw. Thanks for visiting. We won't be addressing the application until we've gone through our studies and established what the real process is for these applications.
Thanks, Mike. And I would just add, from a context perspective, I know of other municipalities where these are occurring in more urban settings that's causing some issues. And I also know of some situations across the province where it's occurring in more agricultural setting, which is creating some issues. So this is a relatively new area that we're dealing with here. And I think this pause gives us a chance to at least try to catch up with what's happening and try to prevent the negative consequences that may occur. I think it's our best option to try to make sure we don't make a mistake as we go. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We'll move on now to 3A. This is in regard to the Rural Economic Development, or RED grant application. And I have a recommendation here that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive report EDO 2021-25 Rural Economic Development RED grant application, and further that Council supports the Mount Forest Streetscaping Program application being submitted in partnership with the Mount Forest DIA. And with, oh, sorry, I need a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Sherry, seconded by Steve. And we'll open the floor for discussion. Sherry, go ahead.
Yeah, so as the liaison of council to the BIA, I just wanted to pull this. I think the Red Grant application will give the BIA a greater opportunity to continue the works that were started with the Downtown Revitalization Committee and build on the refresh ideas that the BIA has for the downtown Mount Forest. And I just wondered if Dale is with us and maybe he could just sort of go through the application and what that would look like should we be successful on it.
Okay. Dale, are you up for tackle on that one?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Lennox, through you. And thank you, Councillor Burke, for raising the report and showing your support to it. I think this is a good opportunity for us to move forward with some additional downtown revitalization initiatives in Mount Forest. Certainly the BIA are very supportive of these 5 programs. They have provided a letter of support to the application that should we get funding for any of these initiatives, that they would contribute 50% funding. And we're not asking council tonight to approve the programs themselves. We're just asking council to approve the partnership application for the RED grant. We would come back to council. Should we get funding approved, we would then come back to council later this year as part of the BIA work plan process and discuss each one of the programs in a little bit more detail and get council's actual approval to the initiative themselves. Since I put the application together, you'll notice under the funding considerations, I had mentioned that we thought the application would be in the vicinity of 210 to 225,000. It's now looking like it's more like 250 to 275,000. We got some projections in from BM Ross in terms of the curb extension, and we also got some more detailed sizing in to install Wi-Fi in downtown Mount Forest. So that will get updated as part of the application. We're also looking at spreading the implementation out a little bit more to take, again, should we get funding and should we roll this out to take some of the pressure off some of the areas. So we'd be looking at the parklet and the mural maybe as a 2022 program. The outdoor gym and the downtown Wi-Fi is a 2023 program, and the curb extension or whatever that type of project might be as a 2024 project. So kind of spreading it out over the next 3 years. So we're under a little bit of time pressure, so that's why the report has come to council this way. We have to submit the application by the end of September. So hopefully with council support, we'll be able to do that.
Thanks, Dale. Any other questions, comments? I would just add that, yeah, I'm very supportive of these recommendations that are being suggested. I think, you know, this builds on, well, it seems like a long time ago, the Roger Brooks process we went through around making sure our downtowns are more attractive for people to come and spend some time. So I think that's great. And, you know, in terms of the curb extensions and so on, we're giving that a try in Arthur and seeing if that's helpful in terms of traffic calming and also helping pedestrians navigate maybe across the street a little easier. Certainly needed in Mount Forest, but I think it's a good opportunity for us to see how well it works in Arthur, and if there's any you know, improvements we need to make or modifications we need to do, then we can maybe do it even better when we try it again in Mount. Thanks, Dale, for pulling that together, and thanks to the BIA for being willing to participate in this project. I think this is a win-win, especially if the provincial government is willing to come to the table on this. Thanks again. Any other questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We'll move on to 4C. This is the update report in regard to the Safe Restart COVID-19 funds. And we have a recommendation here that Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive report TR 2021-16 being an update report on the Safe Restart COVID-19 recovery funds. And further, the council directs staff to utilize the COVID-19 recovery funds to support the Senior Center for Excellence to a maximum of $10,000. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that? Just Karen, you're muted, by the way.
I think that 4B was pulled by Lisa, wasn't it, about the proposed budget schedule?
Oh, yes, sorry, my mistake. We'll come back to that.
Okay.
Sorry about that, folks. I need a mover and a seconder for this one, if you don't mind. Moved by Sherry, seconded by Steve. And we'll open the floor for discussion. Anybody want to talk about this one? Maybe I made a mistake on this one, did I? It was.
No,
Go ahead, Lisa.
It was pulled. I just forget who pulled it. But it was pulled.
Okay, go ahead, Lisa.
Yeah, I pulled it. The only comment was, I think this is a good use of funds. And I'm fully supportive of supporting our community, our seniors, helping to navigate the time that we're within.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions or comments? And I would just mention that what I learned from the presentation from the Senior Center of Excellence about Facebook being the older person's social media, I shared that with my wife and it didn't go over so well. But anyways, I do think this is a good use of funds and I'm happy to support the Senior Center of Excellence. Anyway, I'll call the motion then. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And sorry, we'll go back to 4B that I jumped over. That's in regard to the budget schedule. And we'll read the recommendation that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive report TR 2021-15 being report on the proposed 2022 budget schedule. And further, the council endorsed the schedules proposed by staff as follows. September 3rd, budget templates circulated to senior management team. October 1st or earlier, budget inputs provided to finance team for consolidation. October 15th or earlier, budget discussions between senior management team members and director of finance. October 29th, consolidated budget draft prepared for senior management review. November 22nd, staff presents proposed budget to council. December 13th, staff council present revised budget to public for comment. January 10th, staff council present revised budget based with public consultation if required and 2022 budget bylaw passed. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Moved by Sherry, seconded by Lisa. And we'll open the floor for discussion. Lisa, go ahead.
I pulled it, so I guess I'll lead off. I just wanted to comment that I love how organized Adam is, and I really do appreciate having this schedule in front of me, so that I don't have to ask staff where things should be at. It makes things much easier for me as a counselor anyway. So just a thank you, and I like the aggressive schedule.
Okay. Thanks, Lisa. Any other questions or comments? Sherry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd just like to also comment on the aggressiveness of the schedule. Every year, it seems that the finance and senior management team seem to get it a little bit closer to the end of the year. I remember a time when I first started on council and it would be May before we actually finalized the budget. So like the timing of it. And then I think, once that budget gets passed, the earlier it gets passed, the better opportunity sometimes we have on savings for for those larger projects. So thank you, and that's great.
Other questions, comments? Again, I would add my thank you to staff for the foresight on looking forward to this budget. I'm sure this year will not be an easy challenge. There's certainly lots of things changing in our world, and look forward to what staff are able to pull together, and so that we can have some discussions for the coming year. So again, thanks for the foresight and getting this rolling. With that, I'll call the motion. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And now I have 5B. I haven't missed any others, have I, Karen? Okay, so we have 5B now. This is the report in regard to the emergency generator for the sports complex in Mount Forest. I'll read the recommendation that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive report Ops 2021-35, being report on the award of an emergency generator for the Mount Forest and District Sports Complex. And further, the council award the township's request for proposal 2021-009 to Wagler Electric at an upset limit of $127,800 plus applicable taxes. And further, the council authorized the director of operations or their designate to sign any necessary agreements with the successful bidders to execute this project. I need a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Steve, seconded by Cherry. Okay, with that, I'll open the floor for discussion. Go ahead, Lisa.
Finally, I'm so happy that we're getting a generator. And I think it's proven a lot lately that it's something that is definitely needed. Wagler, well, I looked them up. I wasn't familiar with Wagler, but it is a fairly local company. And my question is, and I'm sure staff has looked at it, but just a generator, a reliable generator, that is extremely important. And most of the weight in here is on cost. What kind of assurances do we have that the generator can be maintained, et cetera?
Matt, go ahead.
Yep, thanks. Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Hearn. The generator that's provided in this proposal is equipment that's manufactured by a firm that the township's very familiar with. So it'll be very consistent with actually the Kenilworth generator as well. So I think staff's very comfortable with who's supplying the equipment as far as the generator itself.
Other questions, comments? Okay, so I just add that I think it's great that we can proceed with this project, and we have some other governmental support to help cover the costs, and it's good that we now will have the capability for backup generation at that facility, which gives us more flexibility with how we use it, say in an emergency or something of that nature. The only other question I had was with regard to how well did this integrate into the original design of the sports complex? And then is there limitations on what we can operate with the size of the generator in this proposal? So Matt, I'll turn that over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Lennox. So the way the RFP was structured, it's utilizing the existing equipment that was installed as well as a concrete pad and some conduit that was installed. But it's sized really with what the original intent was for a generator for that facility. So functionality might not be 100% like it would be on utility power, but it will be large enough that we can sort of strategically or operationally keep that facility running in the event of a power outage.
Okay, great. Thanks, Matt. Any other questions, comments? Okay, all those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So that brings us to the end of our items for discussion. So we'll move on. Is there any notice of motion this evening? Steve, go ahead.
Yes, I'd like to bring a notice of motion for our next meeting. That our council revisit resolution 2021-247. And it provides that the council of the corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive ExploreNet correspondence dated July 12th, 2021. Regarding the proposed 45-meter self-supported tower at 7239 5th Line, Center Wellington, Township of Wellington North. And further, that council send a letter of objection to ExploreNet regarding the proposed self-supported tower at 7239. That it may impact the operations of the New York Soaring Club. So I will put that motion forward.
Okay, and have you sent that text to Karen for inclusion? Okay, thanks,
Yes,
Steve.
thank you.
Any other notice of motion this evening? Okay, that will move on to community group meeting program reports. Anybody have anything they'd like to report on that? I see your hand come up, Steve.
Yeah, and it's the first time I'm actually happy to be third place, but I was down at Met's on Saturday, and I know, Lisa, you probably would have won if you were able to bring your pumpkin down to St. Paul's, but I was able to get mine down there, and Wellington North came in third. We were in first place until two late entries from Deputy Turton over in Minto, and it was both of them beat my pumpkin. So I've got it at home here, but we were well represented and got third place.
Okay. Thanks for representing us, Steve. My pumpkin growing this year was pretty much non-existent, so I appreciate you taking on that responsibility. Did you offer to fire the Minto pumpkins out of the cannon for them, or?
I'll be honest with you, Andy. As our level of government, there was a senator there. I let him take the obligations to fire the pumpkins into Paul McDougall's field. I let Rob Black do it.
Okay, very good.
But yeah, there must have been probably 40 people there, and I wasn't able to go last year or the year before, and it's just a good time, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I can vouch for that. Okay, anybody have anything else they'd like to report on this evening?
Well, if I can continue,
Go ahead,
I'd like to thank all of council and then all of our township staff that provided the lunch for all the volunteers on this past Friday. It was a great turnout, great food. Everyone was able to sit down, and I heard from a lot of volunteers that they really appreciated it. I think we appreciate them more than what they appreciated the lunch, and what they do for the township is fantastic. But it's just a nice way to give back to them and say thanks. So.
Yeah, well, I'm sure all of them don't do it for a sausage or a burger. The recognition is important, and I'm very grateful that we were able to provide a bit of recognition. And again, I would also add my thanks to other members of council and staff for making that possible, because I do think it is important that we recognize it. Okay, anything else anyone would like to report on? Now that Steve cut the feet out from under the rest of us, right?
Taking up all the time.
First in, last out, Dan.
I just want to remind everybody about the River Classic charity golf tournament. The Lions have partnered with the River. I don't know if they're still looking for teams, but we, as the Aquatics Committee, will have an opportunity to sell some of our pool swag at that golf tournament on Wednesday. So that's good. That's good for my committee with regards to that. So we're hoping for good weather.
Yeah, the forecast, I think, is looking fairly good compared to what we've had the last few days.
Sorry, and Andy, through you and to you, Councillor Burke, are they, the Aquatics Committee are going to have a setup for hats and mug sales again?
Yes,
Oh, good.
the Lions Club partnered with the River, and we have partnered with them to give some of the committee members are going to work with the Lions Club. So as the recipients of the funds that are raised through the River Golf Tournament, the Lions Club will be promoting their organization, and they've given us some space on that table
Oh, good.
to sell the swag.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anything else anyone would like to share? Sorry, Lisa, go ahead.
Yeah, two things related to the Arthur Chamber. As everyone saw today, that the Arthur Chamber Community Awards are now open. So just a reminder for that, to nominate, let's see, corporate citizen, young citizen, citizen of the year, and I'm missing one, outstanding business. So that nomination form is available online. Second thing, everyone at the chamber is crying tears right now because Jacqueline, our administrator, has resigned. We wish her well. She was just so amazing. But she is a dental hygienist, and she has accepted a position in orthodontics, I guess, down in Guelph, and I think one up in Arthur. So I think she has two positions, but don't quote me on that. But she's following her passion, and I wish her well, and everyone should be able to follow her passion, but she's left a huge hole, and we're upset.
Okay. Anything else anybody has tonight? Okay, I don't think I have anything either, so we'll move on to bylaws. And we have a recommendation here. We have 3 bylaws, and the recommendation reads that bylaw number 90-21, 91-21, 92-21 be read a first, second, and third time and enacted. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Moved by Steve, seconded by Dan. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Cultural moment this evening. So I'll just read the cultural moment. It's for September, celebrates the Rothwell family farm and apple orchard. The adage, an apple a day keeps the doctor away, originated in Wales in 1866, but the wording was actually eat an apple on going to bed and you'll keep the doctor from earning his bread. The current wording reappeared in 1913, and if you want to try this theory, a great place to visit is Rothwell family farm and apple orchard on Side Road 7 west of Kenilworth. This 200-acre family farm has 6 acres planted to apples. They began in 1976 and now have 13 varieties, including Cortland, Empire, Paula Red, Macintosh, Gala, Ambrosia, Spy, Honeycrisp, Yana Gold, Russet, Tolman, Sweet, Spartan, and 1 wealthy tree. They've had as many as 1,400 trees, but care for approximately 800 now. Growing trees requires a large investment, as it may take 3 to 9 years for one to mature and produce fruit. The determining factor is the variety that is being grown, and the yield per acre again depends on several factors. One is weather, and another how close the trees are planted, generally 1 to 2 feet apart. Apple trees can produce between 200 and 2,000 bushels per acre. However, the provincial average is 400. In 2012, the heat wave was so severe that only 1% of the potential yield was produced. The lifespan of an apple tree depends on the variety. Some trees on the farm are 45 years old and will still continue to produce for many decades if they are carefully pruned. Spraying ensures that the apples are of high quality. The Rothwells also produce apple cider and apple butter and sell local honey. The apples are kept in cold storage so that they may be sold locally into the winter. An Ida Red apple improves well in storage. It becomes more succulent and milder by February. On the other hand, the Macintosh doesn't store well and will become soft over time. And Ambrosia is another variety that will keep well for an extended period. Terry Rothwell advises that certain apples have special uses. For baking pies, Wealthy, which is an old variety, is the best. For making applesauce, he prefers Paula Reds. To just munch, either a Cortland, Ambrosia, or Gala are really good. Cortland apples are a favorite in Waldorf salads at fancy restaurants. Pies that are made in October from fresh apples and then frozen have a better flavor than pies that are made later in the year from apples that have been taken out of storage. Whatever your choice, biting into an apple tingles the taste buds. That's your cultural moment for September. And thanks to Penny Rankin for submitting that. Okay. I don't know how you find that out about pie being better after frozen, because they don't usually last around our house long enough to get to the freezer.
Well, I was going to say you have bad luck with your pies up in Red Squirrels.
Yes, well.
And don't apples keep doctors away?
For sure. Lisa, go ahead.
I just wanted to comment, yeah, Terry makes an excellent pie. It's a little known fact about Terry Rothwell that his pie making skills are outstanding. I cannot do that.
Very good. Okay, I think that brings us to our confirming bylaw for this evening. And the recommendation is that bylaw number 93-21, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North at its regular meeting held on September 27th, 2021, be read a first, second, and third time and enacted. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Moved by Steve, seconded by Sherry. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And before we move to adjournment, I'll just draw your attention to the announcements and so on the final page of the front here. So I think, as you all know, there's the Mount Forest Lions chicken drive-through tomorrow night, Tuesday the 28th. Wednesday is, as we spoke about earlier, the 88-7 the River Golf Tournament. The PIN Volunteer Engagement Series is again on the 29th. And the Arthur Lions are having their chicken drive-through dinner on Thursday on the 30th. The office will be closed on Monday, October 11th for Thanksgiving, and our next meeting is the following day, Tuesday, October 12th at 2 p.m. So with that said, I'll move on to adjournment. And the recommendation is that the regular council meeting of September 27th, 2021 be adjourned at 8:13 p.m. Could I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Steve, seconded by Dan. All those in favor? That's carried. We are officially adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Good night. Have a great week.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah, have a great night, everyone, and have a great week.